Today, I'm making a super chill beat on the MPC One by playing and sampling a kalimba. What's up, and welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. A kalimba, also known as a thumb piano, is a staple of lo-fi and kind of chill music. And so today, I wanted to use one that I borrowed from a friend in exchange for lending him one of my synths to make some super chill lo-fi. So I started off by just messing around trying to come up with a melody. Okay, it's like 20 minutes later, I finally came up with something that works, and I comped together a couple of takes to get something. I'm gonna mime playing that now because I can't be bothered to find all the clips where I actually got it. So here's what I've come up with so far. And I should also mention I've added the plugin Crystalline by Baby Audio, and it sounds real nice on this. All right, so I think I'm going to export this, bring this onto the MPC One, and see if we can't develop this a bit further. All right, it is like a couple days later. I spent some time off camera putting together a beat, so I want to walk you through it, starting by just loading that little loop that I made on camera into a clip, and I've added some effects to that. So let me solo this. Here's the original that you've already heard. I've got air flavor on here, doing some kind of vinyl sim and gramophone sim stuff. I'll show you the EQ next because I've gone into tame those upper mids that got a bit harsh. And a bit of granulator. I tried sidechaining it to the kick and that didn't really work, so we have ditched that for now. It took me quite a bit of time to get these drums to work, not timbrally, but in terms of timing, because I wanted them to be fairly on the grid, like not super drunken drummer style, but I wanted them to feel locked into the kind of very loose groove of the kalimba part, which meant I spent a lot of time in the grid just scooting stuff around until it just felt right. Which is why a lot of these parts are hitting just ever so slightly late. I would just grab a note, turn on Don't Snap and nudge it around, all that kind of stuff. So just a lot of trial and error trying to get everything to fit in a little pocket. And I think it works. Let me show you some of these individual elements. This kick has some quite a bit of soft clipping on it, and it's being sent to the Ducker input. Just a little bit of EQ to tame this clap a bit. This shaker has a bunch of stuff on it. It's already time stretched to slow it down a bit to fit with the tempo. And then I have gone in, basically cut a ton of lows, and a ton of mids for that matter. Ensemble adds some width. Granulator gives it some space and kind of makes the rhythm of it a little more indistinct, which I wanted in this case. And then I've ducked it to the kick, and that really turns it into this kind of background texture element rather than a rhythmic element. And then this clap has the reverb large on it. It sounds so I've buried it in the mix a bit as just a little texture element. I actually liked it not to sidechain the sub bass. Regular viewers of the channel will have seen this sub bass before. This is the Hype plugin with the preset gritty sub. Unmodified, just playing something that matches both the kick pattern and what the kalimba's doing. Oops. So far, pretty straightforward. Now let's bring in some piano elements. So this is the Fabric plugin. I've used this a few times on this track. Reminder, if you are a beat maker on the MPC, you don't need to buy Akai's new plugins. You don't necessarily need them, and if you do want one, just cherry pick one of them. For me, I find myself using Fabric the most for lo-fi stuff because it's got these nice kind of soft pianos, soft electric pianos, and even then, it's definitely a bit gimmicky. So do with that information what you will. Regardless, just some very simple little chords. Just following the Kalimba part. And duplicated with that is this electric piano part, also played with Fabric. And this is just a straight up copy, except I've inverted the chords a bit. So they're taking up different spots in the frequency spectrum. I also have this little extra piano track. That way I could like mute and unmute it while playing this out. And it kind of dances around the Kalimba melody. Also, just to head off any comments, this would probably not be considered hip-hop. Like, it would fall into the category of lo-fi, but this is pretty far removed from hip-hop. This is some, like, study music here. So that's what we've got so far. That's what you heard in the intro, probably. Then we bring in a couple of other layers. So let me show you these in isolation. This track is another hype preset, Space Flight, that I've done some processing to. Where is that? So that's an EQ, mostly cutting lows. A bit of reverb. The granulator, this time an octave up and reversed. And the ducker. Gives it this kind of space energy, and even more so, this part. Another Fabric preset that I've basically not modified at all, other than cutting a bunch of lows. I do really like this patch. Very spacey. Like oldie-timey sci-fi. Which is cheesy as hell, but it's kind of fun. So that's how I flipped the little Kalimba part that I poorly played into something that I think is actually kind of a vibe. If I was to do this again, I would probably spend a bit more time practicing the part to kind of nail it so I don't have to deal with this timing stuff. In fact, I'd probably actually make a drum beat first and then try to play the Kalimba along with it. I think that would result in a much easier time having everything be in the pocket. But regardless, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see some more beat making, you can click or tap up over here somewhere, and I'll be back with a new video in a little bit. Easy peasy.